Welcome back. This is kind of the last talk in the tidy text section of this module. I'm just going to go over like really basic statistics for what to do with the numbers that you've collected. And the basic statistics that we're going to talk about here is a simple t-test, which are just used to check for differences and similarities. And the idea is we have this data frame or this tibble that has shared words between students who completed the MOOC and did not complete the MOOC. And we have normalized frequencies for those shared words. Are there differences, basically, between those frequencies? The idea would be the null hypothesis. There is no differences because these basically are students that are performing very similarly. And then the alternative hypothesis is that there are differences because the students are using different words, and these words might relate somehow to success within the MOOC. So if you're not familiar with the t-test, you're about to get a minute-long introduction to it. So you might want to read up on the t-test on Wikipedia. But basically, a t-test compares two groups' means along with their standard deviation. It reports a t-value, which is a statistical test, and a p-value. And generally, a p-value below 0.05 is considered statistically significant. But you also want to probably look at effect sizes because with large data frames like this, it's virtually impossible not to get a p-value that is below 0.05. T-tests look like this. You have two groups. Let's say the group on the left in the blue is the students who completed MOOC, and the group on the right, which is kind of orange, pinky, ready, those are students that did not complete the MOOC. And the idea is like, is the mean value, which is the line in the middle of the distribution, is that mean value statistically different than the mean value for this group? And that all depends on mean scores, but a lot about the standard deviation and the shape of the distribution. We're going to use a library called Psych. I use it a lot for doing principal component analysis, but it also has a nice function that allows for really quick descriptive statistics to be easily calculated. So we're going to call in the library Psych, and the function here is just called describe. And then we're going to describe this data frame. And as we've seen this data frame before, it has 3 columns: word, complete, and incomplete. Psych is telling you with this asterisk that this column word is a bunch of strings. I'm still going to try to process it because I am a computer and I will process whatever you give me to process, but don't trust this. But what we're actually interested in is these 2 rows for complete and incomplete. And what we can see is that the mean frequencies are seemingly different between the 2 groups, with complete having a larger mean score for all the words that are used versus incomplete, which has a smaller. And the standard deviation of its course much higher on complete than incomplete. So first we're going to look at a simple correlation just to understand, like, hey, how similar are these frequencies for these words between these 2 groups? That function is just called core, and then we just call in the data frame along with the column name. And you can see the correlation of 0.8. Realistically, frequencies that are being reported between these 2 groups are pretty similar, right? But even if they're similar, there might be small enough differences to be meaningful. So then we're going to look at t-tests, and the call for, or the function for a t-test is just t.test, and it's the same. You call the data frame followed by the name of the column. And what you end up getting here is a Welch's 2-sample t-test. And what most people are looking at is this p-value, which is well below 0.05, indicating that most likely there probably is significant differences between these 2 groups. What that means in practice, don't know. But it does mean that they are performing differently. And if you dug a little bit deeper beyond frequency, you might find that there are some differences between these 2 groups. And that's what we're going to do in our next section of this module, which is going to be on sentiment. So stick around, and we will talk through sentiment analysis and what we can pull out of this data using sentiment.